Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Board during the board's consideration of each agenda item. If you wish to speak on an agenda item appearing on the agenda, please fill out a speaker card noting the number of the agenda item for which you wish to speak and present it to the board clerk. If you wish to speak about more than one agenda item, please fill out a separate card for each item. If you wish to speak under public comment, please note that on the speaker card. When the matter is announced, please approach the speaker's lectern after being recognized by the chair. We get a roll call, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Here.
Supervisor Flores?
Present.
Supervisor Ziegemeyer?
Here.
Supervisor Baines?
Present.
Supervisor Conant?
Here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start off. If everybody could please stand, we're going to have invocation by Holly and Drake Brown from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Our dear Father in heaven, we thank thee for the blessing of living in this wonderful country and this wonderful community as well. We express gratitude for the moisture which has relieved our fears about drought. We also ask thee to moderate the weather so that the farmers will be able to get their crops in, prepare the ground and plant so that we can have a bounteous growing season as well. We express gratitude for the leadership in this county and city and for their goodness. We thank thee for the blessings of community and connection with each other, and we say this in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, if you can please wait there for your presentation. We're going to have the Vice President of Yuba-Sutter stand down, Rob Upton. He's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you very much for inviting us. We feel so honored to be invited to come. We are Drake and Holly Brown, as Supervisor Baines mentioned, and we are from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We've been asked to coordinate the events of the open house of the Feather River Temple of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is across the street that you've been observing being built. And we express delight at being invited here. Supervisor Baines and supervisors, we thank you for inviting us. And Mr. Smith, we appreciate all that you've done to make it so that we could be at this place now and have this opportunity to see our temple at its completion.
So, yeah, first of all, I just also want to express my gratitude to all of you. This community has been amazing throughout this time of us building the temple, and we just have recognized throughout this time how much community support and welcomeness there is, and we're very grateful for it. We're going to be going over just a few things with you today, letting you know about the dates and times of our public open house. So everyone is invited, and we're going to be talking about how that might affect the parking in the area and traffic in the area a little bit, and the commerce as well. And then if anybody wants to find out more about it, they can go to featherrivertemple.org for information.
There's a few dates that you'll want to be aware of. The first one is that on August 12th, we're going to have the contractors who built the building to come and see their craftsmanship as a finished product, and all of the youth from our region who are interested in the open house will be invited to come as well. We're hoping, we have our fingers crossed, we have a request in to use the Veterans Hall for part of that experience on that day. The second thing is a media day. There will be a invitation for the members of the media to come where they can view it, and a press conference. That will be on the 15th of August. And then invited dignitaries. So we're hoping the supervisors, perhaps others, members of your staff would want to come and be a part of a special invited guest time where there will be tours that are unique to dignitaries. Then it'll be open for 19 days, except for Sundays, every day from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for the community to come and observe the building and to learn a tiny bit about what happens there after the building is dedicated.
Okay, and he just mentioned 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So we plan to start the first tour at about 9 a.m. and then the last tours will start about 8 p.m. and finish up by 9. So it'll be a long day, but plenty of time for people to come.
There won't be any activity there on Sundays, though, so don't come on a Sunday. But other than that, you can come. There will be a little bit of a planning that will happen with parking. Again, we're hoping and anticipating and asking that perhaps some parking availability, perhaps on the Gray Avenue lot, will be available, and we're prepared to provide whatever indemnifications or whatever might be required. But we'll be asking about some of those things. Probably most of our people will park there, and they'll be shuttled over with the bus service. We kind of expect that there could be as many as 100,000 people who come during the 24 days. So it'll be a significant presence, but we're going to do our very best to be really good neighbors and not interrupt anything that's happening here. Hence, the parking and the buses will make it so that there won't be too much congestion in this area. The very busy days will be Saturdays, where most of you won't be working here anyhow, so possibly you won't notice. If you wish for us to mitigate any possibility that someone who's local knows that they could possibly find a parking spot on this property on the day, if you don't want to do that, let us know. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't say anything about that, and they can make their own decisions about what they'll do. But we will be broadcasting where appropriate places are to park.
And with all of these people coming into town, most people will not be staying overnight, but I'm sure the restaurants and everything, like things like that, would be more visited during that time. So that in that way, it might affect the commerce a little bit.
There will be people coming from the Bay Area, from the southern part of Oregon, maybe Reno. Certainly, a lot of people from Sacramento, and regions up toward Redding and such as well.
So this is the building that's right next to the temple. This is what we refer to as our stake center. It's our meeting house where the members of our faith will meet once it's after the temple open house is complete, they'll meet there on Sundays. But this is also the first place when people come for a tour, they'll come into this building first.
Probably some of you know President Steve Hammerstrom. He's the local executive who is what we call the stake president. So this is his building, and the worship services and his office will be in this location once things are dedicated and complete.
So this is just a picture of what it might look like before you enter into the temple. If in the meeting house, you'll watch a short video before you walk over to the temple, just about the temple, the purposes of the temple, and what we do inside and how we worship. And this is the place where you'll have some little white shoe coverings to put on to keep the inside of the temple clean.
What you see here is a tent that's just meant to keep the sun off the people who are putting the shoe coverings on while they're doing that, and you'll enter right into the temple from there. This slide shows what it will look like when you first walk in. We have a picture of the Savior Jesus Christ, which will be the first thing that you'll see as you walk in, and then past there, you'll see the hallway going down into the baptistry.
Yep, the next picture is a picture of the baptistry, and these are pictures of a different temple that's similar to ours. So ours will look a little bit different. And then go ahead, and this is what the staircase is going to look like, and then another room in the temple.
We hope this gives you enough of a teaser that you want to come and see the real thing when it's open, and that you plan to do that. Reservations would be encouraged. You can go to the next slide. Reservations would be encouraged, but not mandatory. It'll probably help you have a sense for when exactly you could come and expect to go right in if you do a reservation. The reservation system will be up and available about 6 weeks before the first day of the open house. And as Holly said, if you want to, you can go on to featherrivertemple.org and register, and that way they'll send you messages anytime there's any updates. But regardless, if you just plan to come anytime between the 19th of August and the 9th of September, we would be delighted to give you a tour of our temple. Do you have any questions?
Any questions from the public? Any questions from the board? No, I don't.
Through the chair.
Go ahead. Supervisor.
Thank you. Thank you for the update. It's been a wonderful sight seeing this temple raised from the ground. It's a pretty incredible building, and a great honor for Yuba City to have it here in the heart of Sutter County. Thank you.
Thank you.
We can't thank you enough for how welcoming you have been all along. I know some of you came to Chico when our prophet came there for an event, and it was so awesome to hear you talking about the temple even 2 years ago about that. And we just can't really imagine another place that would have been so welcoming to us. Holly and I had a chance to visit the Hindu temple and the Sikh temple as a way of learning a little bit about your community and thinking about our temple being one that stands in this community among those other two faithful temples. And we just feel so honored to be able to build a temple in this place. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Ziegler. You fine? Now, again, Holly and Drake just want to say thank you for the great presentation. We're super excited and looking forward to participating in the open house. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on to the presentations now. If I could please have Jo Marie Finn, please join us up front, center stage here for the first presentation. Alrighty. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Jo Marie Finn with us today, the Sutter County Board of Supervisors, wishes to extend our most sincere appreciation for her involvement and continued contributions to the Yuba-Sutter community. And so we have a little token here of appreciation for all that you do. And we just want to say thank you.
Okay, if everybody knows me. I'm never lost for words, but boy, this has got to me. Thank you so much. I've moved to Yuba City, and all of you are friends immediately. Thank you.
Thank you.
If any of you have been to any of the events over the last few years, I should say over the last probably about 60 years, you've probably seen Joe Finn and Mr. Mick Finn. I mean, this amazing lady right here is all about the community, literally all about the community, from the veterans to the youth. And dancing, but it's incredible when it's just the support and the care that she gives to everyone here in this community is unreal. I mean, it is. We're just blown away by your hospitality and how much you care, and it means the world, and it makes a difference. You look at all these kids that have gone on to different universities and different aspects of life, and all because of you and what you've done to help benefit them along the way.
He wanted me to do this.
Her late husband, Mick, an incredible man, incredible family. Thank you very much for all that you and your family do for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Prepare for, withstand, and recover from the impact of a full range of health threats, including disease outbreaks such as measles, natural disasters, and disasters caused by human activities such as chemical spills. We want to recognize the important contributions of health professionals in improving the health of the people of our community. They do tremendous work under tough conditions, and their work is not universally appreciated, but we appreciate their work a great deal. Now, therefore, let it be resolved, the Sutter County Board of Supervisors do hereby proclaim the week of April 3rd through 9th of 2023 as National Public Health Week, and call upon the people of Sutter County to observe this week by helping our families, friends, neighbors, co-workers, and leaders to better understand the value of public health and supporting opportunities to achieve health equity in light of the year's theme, centering and celebrating cultures and health. In witness whereof, I, Carm Baines, Chairman of the Sutter County Board of Supervisors, hereunto set my hand and caused by the official seal of the County of Sutter to be affixed this 28th day of March, 2023. I never read that bottom part before. Sorry. This is for you. A few words.
Just really want to thank everybody for recognizing Public Health Week, and I'm going to turn it over to Kristen McCauley. And she's really spearheaded all the activities and events that we have planned next week.
Yes, so thank you so much for recognizing Public Health Week for us. My team at Public Health has been really busy working on this entire week where we have several events, but our main event is our cultural health celebration, and we are celebrating all of the wonderful communities within our big community, all of the diversity that we have. It's going to be April 6th from 4 to 7 at Veterans Hall. We're going to have food trucks, over 32 vendors there, and some different cultural groups who are going to perform for us. So please come out. We would love to see everybody there.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, the next proclamation is for Red Cross Month. I saw you back there. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have a proclamation here that I'm just going to read what's written on the proclamation. Red Cross Month, March 2023. Whereas in times of crisis, people in Sutter County come together to care for one another. This humanitarian spirit is part of the foundation of our community, and it is amplified by the Red Cross volunteers and donors. Whereas in 1881, Clara Barton founded the American Red Cross, turning her steadfast dedication for helping others in a bold mission of preventing and alleviating people's suffering. Today, more than 140 years later, we honor the kindness and generosity of Red Cross volunteers here in Sutter County who continue to carry out Clara's life-saving legacy. And whereas they join in the millions of people across the United States who volunteer, give blood, donate financially, or learn vital life-preserving skills through the Red Cross. In Sutter County, the contributions of the local Red Cross volunteers give hope to the most vulnerable in their darkest hours. Whether it's providing emergency shelter, food, or comfort for families devastated by local disasters like home fires, donating essential blood for accident and burn victims, heart surgery or organ transplant patients, and those receiving treatment for leukemia, cancer, or sickle cell disease, supporting service members and veterans along with their families and caregivers through the unique challenges of military life, helping to save the lives of others with first aid, CPR, and other skills. And whereas their work to prevent and alleviate human suffering is vital to the strengthening of our community's resilience, we dedicate this month of March to all those who continue to advance the noble legacy of American Red Cross founder Clara Barton, who lived by her words, "You must never think of anything except the need and how to meet it." We ask others to join us in this commitment to give back to our community. Thank you.
Oh, I thought I could hand that one off. Well, we'd like to thank you as volunteers with the American Red Cross for the support from our community and our county officials and other esteemed agencies that support us along the way. We again just want to thank you again as a community, and I got to throw it out there at least that one time. Come on over and see us. If you'd like to volunteer, check it out at redcross.org or come down to our chapter on 2125 East on Stott Road here in Yuba. Love to have you come on board.
Thank you. Thank you once again for everything you do. Congratulations. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we have a number of folks that are going to be recognized. I just want to read what's written on a couple of these certificates before we start that part of the process. We have a certificate of appreciation from the County of Sutter, presented to Adventist Health Rideout, the emergency department, and other departments within the Rideout team, in celebration of the 7 years of partnership. Our deep gratitude for your contributions toward building a better community. Your dedication and perseverance is key to our success. Those are the first group. These as well. Oh, okay. So this is easy. You guys can just watch we have a slideshow there, but then that will identify who's being recognized. But also, I just want to read another one of these that's going to go out to the members of the community that were instrumental in keeping our community safe in January through the stormy weather. So, a certificate of appreciation from the County of Sutter in California in recognition of your selfless commitment to caring for our community and tireless efforts assisting with the disaster relief operations during the emergency weather storms in January of 2023. You are a hero on the front lines, and we are forever grateful for your service. Thank you.
Did you see your name up on the the podium up here, or sorry, that's on display up here, please come up and accept your certificate. We'll be scrolling them throughout for everyone.
So these are also for Adventist Health and the Laboratory Department, the Case Management Department, and Street Medicine Program? All right, with Allied Universal Security Team.
Now, as each person sees their name, please come on up and be recognized by the board.
That was her idea. I wanted to recognize each one of you individually.
Adam Reed and Albert Perez. If you could please come forward if you're here. Amanda Swanson. Andrew Lacan. Andre, I'm sorry. Ashton Phillips. Bernardo Rodart Pina. Brandy Pattison and Casey Jorgensen.
such a big time. Cynthia Kuna, Dan Treverner, Daniel Eakes. David Quinones, David Tom, Dennis Bell. Doug Cooper, Emily Arinza, Emily Wood. Eric Ball, Gina Duran, Hugo Torres. Humberto Heredia, Jamie Ferraria, James Guthrie. I'm so sorry if I mispronounce all these names. Jeff Kohler, Jeffrey Clark, Jeremy Friddle. Jermaine Armstead, Jared Rogers, John Nicoletti.
So you can get them for him, but it's just going to be, and these are in order, or the chair has them, so he's just flipping them.
John Wagnon, Julia Sparks, Ken Sraw. Kim Skinner, Kimber Lemming, Christine Adams. Kyrie Combo, Leon Dove, Lacia Chase. Linda Colley, Lisbeth Jagdary, Chegdahary, I'm so sorry, Lori Chambers.
I gotta add these to you. I figured I'll just do it at the end.
Manjeet Rai, Mariana Ruiz, Mark Lawson. Marty Vinson, Mike Nichols, Neil Hay. Paige Tarkey, Patricia DeSanti, Patrick Larrigan. Polly Williams, Richard Ramirez, Rick Milholland. Roy Blair, Sam Padilla, Sarah Dedman. Scott Jean, Scott Riddle, Scott Smallwood. Sean Dent, Stephanie Ruiz, Summer Hollander. Susan Redford, Tara Silva, Tammy Weathers.
I can take a look again. I don't think it was on there.
Torianne Vega, TJ Gourea, Todd Schmiegel. Sorry. William Moore, Zachary Hamill.
Oh.
Brandon Barnes, Blake Landers, Janet Romero Pera, Megan Riney, Hunter Troll.
I don't know if you can hear those last few names.
Megan Riley. Hunter Tull. Okay. Oh, Paul. Oh, jeez. Janet Romero Parra, Hunter Tull, and Megan Riley.
So there's about another 200 of those, but these were the people that RSVP'd and were able to take time out of their busy schedules to be here to be part of that presentation. So we just want to once again thank everybody. We want to thank you. Really, really appreciate all your hard work and efforts and your commitment to the county. So we're going to move on now to public comment. Right? Public comment? So again, those folks that were not able to make it, that they will be receiving their certificate of appreciation at a later date, or the board clerks will get them to them. Right? All right. I still think we should take a picture with everybody in the crowd. Okay. I'll get 2 pizzas. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on down the agenda here as some folks are making their way out. A couple things to read here on public comment and the consent calendar. First, we're going to start with public comment. Members of the public will be allowed to address the board on items of interest to the public that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors. State law provides that no discussion or action may be taken on any item not appearing on the posted agenda. We have a number of public comment cards. This is not any means by any order, just how I received them. So we'll go first public speaker, or first public comment is Doreen Fuller.
Thank you. I'm going to close this. Is that okay? So I just have a couple comments regarding the tragic accident that happened at the intersection of 99 and Oswald. Back when you, as a body, approved the expansion of one of the truck yards, the Sanga yard, I said at that time that there should be no further expansion until the stoplight was in place. There was only one supervisor who voted not to approve the expansion, and that was Matt Conant. So I would hope that the county could take some action before the stoplight is installed. We have another couple years to wait till that happens. You could put a no left turn sign on Oswald. You could voluntarily ask, or you could ask the truck entities to voluntarily reroute their trucks, avoiding that intersection. And if they want to make a left turn, go to a street that has a stoplight that is an approved truck route. You know, it is a shame that, we've had several accidents, but it's a shame that there was a loss of life that could have been prevented by a little foresight by this body. I'm not pointing fingers, but your actions make a difference between life and death. So I would hope that there's something that can be done to mitigate the intersection before the stoplight goes into place. And I would hope also that there's no expansion of truck yards in the area until that happens. Thank you.
All right, next speaker is Peggy Vittori.
Good afternoon, and thank you for hearing me today. I'm here also in regards to the accident that just happened a week ago Sunday, in which a 30-year-old young man, Steve Tadeo, was killed. Again, we ask that no more trucks be put out where we live. It's heartbreaking for us as neighbors to hear these accidents, to see these accidents. We were coming home and saw all the line of cars and knew exactly what happened. I personally lost my own grandson that was run over by a truck. Their car was run over by a truck a year ago. So I'm grieving for this family who just lost their 30-year-old son. Please do something to stop the left turn of these large trucks. They cannot possibly get going to counteract 65 and 70 mile-an-hour cars that are coming at them. Please do something to save lives. Thank you.
Richard Batarni.
Good evening. I agree with my wife, Doreen, that you folks up there, the supervisors and everybody that's included with that, the planning department, should have been done long time ago. We're fully full. I'm totally full of it, waiting for you folks to take a hand and make this safety corridor just a little bit more safe for everyone. Just think about it. If your family, some of your family members were crossing there, and a gentleman in a truck missed a shift. Oh, there goes about 15 seconds. And by then, you're in the side of his truck. I'm upset, and I'm trying to be as calm as I can to you folks that are listening to this. Hopefully, it doesn't take 2 years, 3 years, as Mr. I can't remember your name. Neil Hay recommended, and the DMV, not DMV, excuse me, Division of Highways. I don't know how many other people or how many other intersections in this county and Yuba County get such an amount of deaths at that corner. We moved back here 5 years ago, and every month there's something happening there. Not a death. I think it's past 25 folks that have lost their their siblings, their husbands, their wives. I'm up to my throat listening to this stuff happen and nothing is being done. I ask you folks to push your agenda to the Department of Highways across the bridge. This can't go on. The direction has to stop turning left. The trucks have to stop turning left. That's all I can say.
Romelia Eid.
Well, hello again. I was here last weekend. I'm here again today. Good afternoon. My name is Romelia Eads, and I live in Yuba City. I am an I-Justice provider, a proud member of the UDW, but most importantly, I'm a loving mother to my son, who's sitting right there, who's also a recipient. I've been caring for my son on IHSS program for 20 years, and I want you to imagine yourself in my day-to-day life with him. Never knowing how the day is going to go, the uncertainty keeps me on edge. Trying to maintain the rest of the household while I'm keeping constant eye on my son because he may hurt himself if unattended. This program protects his life, saves the county so much money because he's at home instead of in a care facility. However, due to the round-the-clock care I must provide for his safety, I'm unable to work regular jobs and rely on IHSS programs. You must understand that this is a skilled career. We have skilled nurses in the program, people on hospice, people treating wounds, and distributing medicine. This is the care that saves lives. I am a member of the UDW bargaining team, and wage increase that we are asking for is something that the county can afford and must do for IHSS providers in Sutter County. We are here to say to the board of the wage that the county is proposing to give us unacceptable. We are offended by the pennies per hour that the county is offering. Providers and clients that we serve deserve better than that. Thank you.
Skylar Hamlin.
Can you hear me? Okay. Hello, my name is Skylar Hamlin. I am an IHSS provider in Sutter County and a proud member of my union, UDW. I'm taking care of my wife, Dane, for 3 years and counting. Caregiving is a career that means life or death for people in Sutter County. I work over 50 hours a week, a more than full-time job, but only make $15 an hour. I strive to provide for my wife and community. There are people working just as hard as McDonald's, Burger King, or Jack in the Box for $18 an hour. The state recognizes that we are essential workers, just like the hard-working fast food workers who showed up to the front line every day during the COVID pandemic. We were on the front line too, and we deserve a wage that reflects that. We all should be making equal pay for equal hard work. Please keep these stories in mind as you negotiate our next contract. Thank you.
Vance Piggott.
Good afternoon. I appeared in front of this board about a month ago regarding the disciplinary matter of two deputies, Deputy Kevin Young and Deputy Clayton Cardoza. I understand that the deliberations are on the board's agenda for today. I wanted to make a few additional points before the board considers this matter further. One, I want to reiterate how important it is that the board give serious weight to the decision made by the arbitrator, in this case, Ms. McMillan. Ms. McMillan was mutually selected by both the county and my clients to hear this matter. She rendered a decision resoundingly in favor of Deputies Young and Cardoza. I wanted to raise one other point that I did not get to during my last presentation, and that is with respect to Deputy Young. As you may recall, Deputy Young's discipline was based on the events involving Mr. Johal on June 4th, 2019, an additional pursuit that occurred approximately 9 months later. Specifically on this issue, it's important for the board to consider that the county agreed a written reprimand was the appropriate level of discipline for the first pursuit. For that reason, Ms. McMillan, the arbitrator in this case, recommended that even though she found a violation in the second pursuit, a 5-day suspension was warranted. That's based on a few things that's important to remember. One, progressive discipline requires that an employee be disciplined after the first incident and be given time to correct behavior before more severe discipline is imposed for a subsequent incident. Before the second pursuit, Deputy Young never received any level of discipline on that first pursuit. Secondly, a suspension as recommended by the arbitrator in this case would be more appropriate than a termination for that pursuit because the first pursuit was deemed so low level that it didn't warrant any real discipline, just a written reprimand. To go from a written reprimand for a single violation to a termination for another violation is completely unwarranted. Thank you.
Liz Cervantes.
Liz Cervantes, District 5. I love public comment. I just wish that I had 20 minutes instead of 3, but I would like to point out that 50 minutes into this meeting was due to awards for county employees that make a decent wage, right? You can't answer. I know. But I'm telling you right now, your chamber was full, and I think that it would be beneficial to save the awards to the end of the meeting. That way your chambers can be full, right? I mean, nothing against any of these people, ridiculous. Matt Conant, I would like to publicly commend you for being at the Tea Party meeting last Monday night. You took some real arrows, not from me, right? And you stayed in there and you represented, and I appreciate that. Let's see. Does Chuck Smith have a phone charger? I think we need to invest in one for him if we're going to be doing all these pictures from his cell phone. It's ridiculous. The other thing I wanted to say is this meeting time, because it wouldn't be a meeting without me saying it, is ridiculous. 3 p.m., the most inconvenient time of the day. You get people here because you give them carrots. And you know what? We're sick of carrots. I live by these people. We hear the sirens. We hear about the social media of people being killed at Oswald in 99. That is horrendous. A supervisor told me that traffic signal is not going in until 2025. Or 6. Okay. Too late. Too late. How many more people need to die on that corridor? Don't call it a safety corridor. It is not safe. Do your job.
Tony Farley.
Hello, I'm Tony Farley from South Yuba City. Here to thank everybody. Thank you for your service. Thank you, Sheriff Barnes. Thank you, Zachary Hamble, the funny guy right there. Thank you, Fight Sheriff. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, county employees. Thank you, Deputy. Thank you for your service. Appreciate it.
Zach Hamel.
Good afternoon, Chair and Board of Supervisors. My name is Zachary Hamel. I'm the Sutter County Emergency Operations Manager. I'm here to provide a weather outlook, current forecast, reservoir data, and river observations. So back in October, November, the winter forecast from National Weather Service was to anticipate a normal winter. We obviously are not seeing that. So here's some statistics for you. The 1 month precipitation outlook is going to be wetter than normal. The 1 month temperature outlook is going to be colder than normal. We're currently at 130% of our normal rainfall, and we're at 300% of our normal snowpack. Our current weather pattern is a 2 days of rain followed by roughly 5 days of clouds and sun. And we've seen that for the last couple weeks, and we'll continue to see that for the next couple weeks. Lake Shasta is currently at 81% capacity, which is 103% of normal. Oroville Lake is 82% of capacity, which is 117% of normal. New Bullards Bar is 83% of capacity, which is 110% of normal. Our rivers, the Sacramento at the Calusa Bridge is currently 51.8 feet. It is forecasted to go into monitor stage on Thursday and Friday with a crest of 63.9 feet. We do not anticipate any adverse impacts. The Feather River and the Bear River are currently forecasted to stay well below monitor stage. The weirs, the Tisdale Weir stopped flowing on Monday after several weeks of flowing yesterday, but it will start again tomorrow, Wednesday. And the Calusa Weir will start flowing tomorrow as well. Thank you.
Thank you for the report. Martha Ruiz.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Marta Ruiz, soy la proveedora del Distrito 6 de mi unión UDW y también soy proveedora del IHSS, cuido a mis dos padres aquí en Yuba City. Mi madre tiene 83 años y mi padre 87 años. Mis padres los he cuidado por 12 años para asegurarme que ellos puedan vivir, tengan una calidad de vida mejor. El programa de IHSS ha permitido no solo a mí, sino también a otros proveedores a cuidar a las personas en sus hogares para que puedan vivir con comodidad y dignidad. Pero también nosotros necesitamos la dignidad de ganar un salario digno para vivir por el trabajo fundamental que brindamos a nuestra comunidad. Soy parte del equipo de negociación de mi unión para que mi voz sea escuchada. También fui parte de la unidad de negociación anterior y espero que tenga prioridad el programa del IHSS, ya que nuestro contrato se finalizó el año pasado. Los proveedores confían en ustedes para poder continuar brindando estos servicios vitales y a nuestros adultos mayores, personas con discapacidad y a nuestras propias familias. Gracias.
And hi, my name is Elizabeth Phillips, and I'll be translating on behalf of Martha Ruiz. So good afternoon. My name is Martha Ruiz. I'm the district chair for my union, UDW, as well as an IHSS provider who cares for both my parents here in Yuba City. My mother, who is 83, and my old father, who is 87, have been caring for them for 12 years to ensure that they can live the quality of life that is deserved of them. The IHSS program has allowed not only me, but countless other providers to care for people in their homes so they can live in comfort and dignity. But we also need the dignity of earning a living wage for the critical work we provide for our community. I chose to represent the hardworking people of Sutter County in our district because this program matters to me and everyone you see here. Please look at the faces of our providers here today. Each one has a story, a dream, and a love for IHSS and caring for people who are elderly or disabled. Caregivers are relying on you to be able to continue providing these vital services for our seniors, people with disabilities, and to our own families. Please keep their dreams alive by helping us negotiate a contract that honors all our work. Thank you.
Suki Pango.
Good evening, Supervisors. I'm here to talk about that tragic accident in my neighborhood, Oswald of 99. Stephen Tadeo 30-year-old school teacher around Chico area lost his life. It could have been prevented. We have a lot of close calls in that area. It's just a matter of time before another one happens, and we're sick and tired of it. We want something done before the traffic light goes in. So I have some ideas, and I think Caltrans probably has some ideas. Perhaps Mr. Neil Hay, the Development Services Director, has some ideas on what we can do in the interim for the next 2 years or 3. The other thing I wanted to say is, why the heck do we put in all these truck yards on that road before a traffic light is put in? Why do we create a problem and then try to solve it afterwards? Any kind of planning, county planning that's done is done with zoning. You zone an area, look at the area and say, is this appropriate for the kind of businesses we want to put in? And then you put the businesses in. You know, that's what I would think. I'm not a planner. I'm not an engineer. You know, I just like to think that that's how the county would do things. There's interchanges on Highway 99 where these truck yards could be put in. It's safer for the truck yards, and it's safe for the neighborhoods too, for us, the residences. We use that intersection every day, and I see people pulling out in front of me. I have other relatives that travel that route. I tell my kids, avoid that intersection at all costs. Go another way, spend another couple of minutes, but try to be safe. You know, when the Sangha truck yard went in, you know, the community asked, hey, let's just delay this yard from approval until the light goes in. Once the light goes in, maybe we can think about that, you know. That was the time to do it. The other thing I wanted to say is, if you guys know Governor Newsom, any one of you guys, bring it up to him and say, can we fast track this project? Get that light in as soon as possible. Not in 3 years, do it immediately. Other thing are traffic cameras. Can we put some traffic cameras on the opposite side of the road on the west side? So if we have truckers going through there, they know that, hey, their picture is going to be taken. You know, maybe we can get CHP or someone else to enforce those, because they make these dangerous turns all day long. We can make it a right turn only at Oswald. So they have to go through a loop to come back around if they want to go south on Highway 99. K-rails is another option. You can put K-rails in to force the truckers to turn right, not make a left. The other thing, I talked with Matt Connett the other day about, hey, why don't we put in traffic cameras all along Highway 99? And Matt suggested that he gets comments from constituents that there's a lot of trucks that are going through red lights. You know, they just blow their horn and go right through. You know, so we need those traffic cameras all along Highway 99, probably from Bridge Street all the way down to Tudor. You know, and there's other uncontrolled intersections that have have truck stops as well. O'Banion has it. Walnut has it. You know, I'm sure up by Live Oak there's some there too. So.
All right, well, yeah, sorry, your time's been up. The next speaker, Manjeet Bungle.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors and staff. My name is Manjeet Bungle. We are here again with an outrage that another young man, Stephen Trudeau, has lost his life to this senseless and dangerous intersection of Highway 99 in Oswald. How many lives is it going to take before you realize that allowing these truck yards in this area made no sense now or from the beginning? The blame is not on the truck driver who made the reckless judgment to push through and make the turn, but to the county for not doing their homework and allowing these truck yards in this small area that was not equipped to handle this traffic. Anytime a subdivision goes in or a building, the infrastructure should be dealt with first. The traffic light should have gone in first. The road should have been winding. Our road now, it's already breaking apart. You know, we've got another 100 truck yards added on. I understand a light has been approved for 2026 and 25-26 per Neil Hay, but that's so too far out. We need to do something now before another life is gone. The choices you make as a board when voting can change the county to be better or worse.
In this case, your votes for allowing these truck yards in the Oswald area have now caused another death. The county did not have any plans to address these increased and heavy traffic when approving more truck yards, yet they keep doing it. Let me share with you an example of the county not taking into consideration of all the drivers going through Sutter County, especially on the intersection. On April 26th, that's my birthday, 2022, I was in here fighting for a denial for Sanga trucking. The supervisors approved it except for Matt, and he was the only one who asked to let the traffic light go up before the expansion was approved. You guys could have approved it and made it contingent that day, but no, you guys allowed that truck yard to be expanded, and now we've got probably around 60, 70 more trucks that are traveling on that road. It's not acceptable. From my understanding, again, in September 2021, the county announced that a truck yard study was going to be happening. There were 3 areas that were chosen. I want to say that the county had said, okay, these are 3 that we can use. Let's just think about it. What happened to the study? We haven't heard. It's almost 2 years now. Barry Road, my grandson goes to Barry School. I see trucks. That is not a truck route. I see people driving when the kids are getting out. I've been there. I've honked on my horn, on my car, and like, what the hell are you doing? I'm going like this, and they don't care. They don't care. They just, they're bigger than us. They can get through. There's a fire station. Trucks are not allowed in that area. We need to do something. We need to reroute them, do something. I don't care what you guys do. You guys have to figure something out. This is your mess you created. Thank you.
Justin Myers.
Good afternoon. My name is Justin Myers. I have the privilege to serve as president of the North State Labor Federation, representing thousands of working families here in the North State. And I'm here to speak in support of UDW and the IHSS workers. I deal every day with workers around this area, whether it's nurses to teachers, retail workers to IHSS workers. And one thing I hear consistently is that all of us are aging, and someday I think everyone in this room hopes to live long enough to need the care of someone. And it's one of these things that, where do we want Sutter to be in the future? Where do we want to be as a county as our population ages? Do we want to have a workforce here in this county that's trained and capable of taking care of us as we age? God forbid, get in an accident, have a disability that we also need support. It's one of these things that I've talked to a teacher the other day that her parents are on that edge of needing that assistance, and she can't find a provider here in Sutter County. Because the reality of it is that if you're a provider that lives in Live Oak, you can get a client in Gridley and get paid more, plus get better benefits. So why would you even consider coming down to Yuba City to take care of someone? And that's the reality that Sutter County is facing, and the workers here are facing, that we need to be competitive. This is a very easy job. There's a lot of communities around us that with a 10-minute drive can mean a significant change in compensation. So that's why I just want for the families here in Sutter to make sure that we have a program that can support them as this community grows and ages. So thank you so much.
Liz Cervantes. I have 2 speaker cards from you. One says Berry Fire Station Water, and then it says IHSS. I don't know if you want to go back to that.
So I'm certain that the IHSS workers that are present today are appalled that we are giving out so many raises, countywide raises, right? That's what we're doing today? Item 14, I'm just trying to get ahead of it. When you are giving raises to employees that are not underpaid, that is problematic. No problem with the ones that are underpaid. We've done the research. We know who they are, okay? And I'm glad Steve came back in. I want to talk about word salads right now. I think that the County of Sutter may be taking a page out of Kamala Harris's word book. Okay? I'm speaking specifically about interfacing. 2 weeks ago, Dan, you pressed the CAO about a tax. He did not answer you, but he did say he was leaving it up to the Board of Supervisors to decide whether there would be another tax imposed. Okay? You got a big fat nerve if you think that's going to pass. In these times, in what we're dealing with, fueling up, feeding families, like I told you 2 weeks ago, none of you have ever had a problem making bills, right? None of you. So, I talked to the county, and there has been no interfacing scheduled. So I talked to the city. The mayor's not here, right? He left. Talked to the city, and no interfacing meetings are going on. So I would like to know, when are we going to know so that we can properly battle you when you come up with your next measure? Because like I said last time, the new measure should be called effed up, because that's what we are. Carm, what's my other thing? About Berry Fire Station?
Yes.
Okay. So 2 weeks ago, Supervisor Ziegenmeyer said there does not need to be a fire station in Sutter. He did explain, yes you did, it's on video. It's on video. You did explain that you would fight like hell to keep it there, right? So, that's right. Our Berry Fire Station is getting a lot of action these days. These people here, me, Matt, you know, we're in your district, you are our supervisor, and we can't even get drinking water to our fire station at Berry Road.
All right, that
through the chair. I would just sorry, I know it's on, but those in, please reach out to your state representatives and your Caltrans. We're doing the same thing on improvements to the highway. So like I said, please help out in those as well.
Council, I mean, we don't take this matter lightly. Is there any way I could have Neil Habe just kind of give an update on where he is with Caltrans, or discuss any conversations I've had with their staff?
Matter is not agendized. The board cannot take any action. I guess we could think of something similar to Mr. Hamill's 3-minute update during public comment, if you do want to provide some commentary, Mr. Hay.
Good afternoon, Neil Hay, Development Services Director. And so I have reached out through Caltrans to find out if there are some interim measures that either their staff or county staff could offer to do at the Oswald and 99 intersection. You may recall that there were a series of accidents that occurred at Highway 20 and Humphrey Road, and subsequent to that, the county reached out to Caltrans to see what improvements we could make, and it involved essentially larger stop signs and some better signage, and we put essentially flashing stop-ahead lights. So we've reached out to Caltrans to see what their traffic operations personnel, may recommend. And as we hear back, I'll report to our county administrator and back to your board.
And just supervisors, as a reminder, we can't discuss it, so comments back would be discussing this item. The Brown Act doesn't allow us to discuss items that have not been agendized, and so we would need to agendize this.
So is this safe to say that we'll have something to report back at the next meeting?
Yes, we can do that.
Through the chair, so then we'll be able to agendize it. And, well, I just, at least I can say this. We don't just work here. All right, we're not just here on Tuesdays come to work. Being a supervisor is almost a 24-hour job, all right? We receive phone calls, and we're always thinking about what we can do for the. So what I'm getting at is there's a lot of stuff that goes on. We're not just working on this when something happens. We're always working behind the clock and so forth. So what I'm getting at is feel free to reach out to individuals tomorrow or the next day, and they'll be able to answer those questions. We just cannot answer those questions here because it's not on the agenda.
And to provide a little more explanation, it's to give all of the constituents notice that this matter is going to be discussed. And that's the reason why we can't enter into discussion on items that are not agendized.
All right, going back to public comment, we do have, we did receive a public comment by an email or?
You did. It's for agenda item 14. Would you like me to read it now or with agenda item?
I have a speaker card for item 14.
Okay.
That's fine. All right, so we're going to move on to the consent calendar. So this says it doesn't mark public comment. It says closed session. But if you're, that's fine. Go ahead.
My name is Kevin Young. I was formerly employed as a deputy sheriff for the Sutter County Sheriff's Office. I was ultimately terminated in September 2020 in reference to two instances which occurred, one on June 4, 2019, and one April 3, 2020. I'm not standing before you today to try and convince, beg, or plead for my reinstatement. I'm here to let you know that I will continue to fight for my honor that was stripped by the Sheriff's Office. I was not born or raised in Sutter County, nor do I have any ties to the community. However, I selflessly serve this community. I started my career as a volunteer reserve deputy sheriff for approximately 10 months, making $6.50 an hour. In 2017, I was promoted to a full-time deputy, where I continue to selflessly serve your community. The Sutter County Sheriff's Office accused me of being dishonest, amongst other outlandish allegations. However, during my career, I received multiple accommodations, with one being a life-saving award in 2018. I also never received a less than stellar performance evaluation. Although I was accused of being dishonest, the Sutter County Sheriff's Office sent me to a field training officer school, which I completed in June 21st, 2019, only 17 days after the first incident. I not only completed such course, but was tasked with training multiple deputies. The Sheriff's Office did not just terminate me in September 2020, but terminated two other deputies at the same time. Despite such career-ending allegations, the Sheriff's Office did not give us the courtesy or common decency to review all the evidence in this case. This is proven in testimony that was given during the arbitration hearing. On July 1st, 2022, Arbitrator McMillan provided her opinion and award, ruling against the Sheriff's Office, stating, in quote, "As to Deputy Kevin Young, there was no reasonable cause for discharge. Deputy Young shall be reinstated to his former position as a deputy sheriff effective September 11, 2020, end quote. The arbitrator also had the same outcome for Deputy Cardoza. She conducted a fair, unbiased, and thorough review of the facts and evidence related to this matter, unlike the Sheriff's Office. All I ask is for you to set your political connections aside and conduct a fair and thorough review of the facts in this matter. Thank you."
All right. Now moving on to the consent calendar. The consent calendar groups together those items which are considered non-controversial or for which prior policy direction has been given to staff and that require only routine action by the board. The chair will advise the audience that the matters may be adopted in total by one motion. However, the board may, at its option or upon request of a member of the public, consider any matter separately.
Move to approve 1 through 10.
There's item 6 is being pulled from.
Oh, you're pulling 6? Okay.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to pull that item as well.
Okay. 1 through 10 excluding 6.
I'll second the motion then, if you're making a motion, Mr. Cronin.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegemeier?
Aye.
Supervisor Baines?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
Okay, item 6. We have
Well, because I abstain from the vote since I work for the city of Marysville. So,
Supervisor, excuse me. I believe, were you recusing yourself from this matter or abstaining?
Sorry, yeah, recusing myself.
And so because it's a recusal for a conflict of interest, you'll have to state that conflict of interest before leaving the meeting room.
Should I restate what I just said and then leave the meeting room?
Mention it, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, because I work for the city of Marysville. Now I'll leave the room.
All right. And then through the chair. First of all, the reason why I wanted to pull that item is I think it's a great thing for the community. It's money that we do set aside for the well-being of the community. I say because it brings a lot for the community. It's nice that the cities and the counties all get together, but I'd like to change that figure to 6,000, and the reason why is next meeting I'm going to be bringing before the board, because Butte Star Ranch is going to be proposing a first responders event at their facilities that they are going to invite all the first responders in the area, and they're going to be asking different the counties and the cities to participate in that. And I think that's going to be, like I said, it's all the first responders, firefighters, police officers, and probations, and so forth.
Through the chair.
Supervisor McKelly.
Is this something that we typically do on an annual basis?
Yes.
And this for this specific amount?
No, I think there's no.
Okay. Our CEO Smith.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Chair and Supervisor. So yes, this has been annual for the past several years. It may have been 5,000 or 6,000. I'm sorry, 6. It was 6,000 in prior years, so this is an increase.
Fireworks are more expensive now, and that's what was brought before the committee that we approved it for the 8. Because they need 8 from the 4 jurisdictions. Right, Liam?
Thank you. Yes, that is correct, Supervisor.
So we have a motion on the floor that is asking to reduce the donation amount to 6,000. I had not heard a second. So
Can I, through the chair? So Supervisor Ziegemeier, you're saying that the $2,000 reduction you're wanting to use for a future event? Is
that is correct. That would be the goal, because it's not on the agenda. But like I said, next hopefully it'll go before committee, and it'll go before the supervisors, and hopefully this the committee that is putting on the fireworks display could maybe reach out to the water district, maybe some other groups, community groups, to help subsidize, to help that, because like I said, the 2,000 will benefit the whole region as well, and they're going to reach out to other counties and cities.
I'll second the motion.
Yes.
We have a lot of money because we're giving away pay raises today, right? I think we should do the $8,000 for the fireworks and the $2,000 for Butte Star Ranch. And maybe for Butte Star Ranch, we could start a GoFundMe and the community could give to enhance whatever we're going to do for public safety. So I say keep it at 8.
Fireworks are great. They represent America, our freedom, right? I live in District 5. Matt knows where I live. Probably everybody in Sutter County knows where I live. When I look out my window the week of the 4th, it looks like freaking Beirut. Okay, now I know that that area is mostly the city and that they're supposed to be enforcing the $1,000 fines, right? So I think that the city, if they're collecting these fines, they should be paying for it, not us. We're broke. Even though you're handing out money like there's a money tree, I don't know where it is. Trying to find it.
There's no further public comment. Any questions from the board? Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores? Supervisor Zigemeyer? Aye. Supervisor Baines?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
No.
All right. Item 10. I'm sorry, item 11.
Presentation of the Yuba-Sutter Economic Development Corporation 2022 Comprehensive Economic Development Strategies, SEDS, Appendices 1, 4, and 5 updates, and the 2022 SEDS Annual Performance and Evaluation and adoption of the related resolution.
Good afternoon. Brenda Stranix with the Yuba-Sutter Economic Development Corporation coming to you with an annual update of the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. I want to extend my appreciation for Neil Hay and his participation in the updates to the Sutter County portion of the document. Cynthia Roderick is going to give the presentation, and I'll follow up with what I think are some pretty cool facts that I want you all to know. So I'm going to turn it over to Cynthia with my office, who manages the process for the region.
So good afternoon, Honorable Karen Bannons and the rest of the Board of Supervisors. So my name is Cynthia Roderick. I am the chairperson for the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, which I'll reference as SEDS from here on out because it's a mouthful. And we are seeking approval of the evaluation document and the updates to Appendix 1, 4, and 5. For those of you that don't know, the SEDS is a strategic planning document. It's to help guide us through a 5-year plan for economic development. It is also a requirement of the Department of Commerce, Economic Development Administration, in order to get grants from that department and other planning and other local or federal governments. So the evaluation document represents the goals and objectives of the SEDS document, and it's to let us know what we have done or how we have moved forward this year over the previous year. The vision of the SEDS is to foster a vibrant and prosperous growing economic region through exceptional leadership and involvement of the community. And I'm just going to go over a few facts about the Yuba-Sutter region. Okay, so I'm going to talk about employment or workforce in the Yuba City MSA. It's called Yuba City MSA for the sole reason that Yuba City is the largest city. It's not in our 2-county regions. So that's the only reason it's called Yuba City MSA. And please understand that this is a regional document. So we did have some employment growth. We were up 0.7%, not too much. Our labor force, unfortunately, did reduce itself by 9%. Our unemployment substantially dropped, and that's mainly because the restrictions of the COVID pandemic were lifted. So it went down about 38% or 3.12 percentage points. Annual wages did increase by 5.6%, which is getting people closer to a reasonable living wage. Our poverty levels have reduced. At one point in time, I believe it's 2009, we were almost up to 20%. We have now reduced our levels to 14%, and we're getting close to a national level of 12%. The median household income has increased. We're almost at national levels. It's at $61,676. I do want you to bear in mind, though, the average household of 4, it costs $61,500 to survive a year. So it's just to let you know, people are $100 away from losing a check. Our gross domestic product did increase substantially. 2 years ago, it runs about a year behind, and we had a 9.74% increase. So our GDP is going quite well. We're still struggling on our education levels. We did have an increase in the number of students who are not even graduating or achieving grade 12 GEDs. So that's something that we're really struggling in our area. We're kind of down on the number of some college and associate degrees and bachelor degrees, but strangely enough, we had an increase in postgraduate degrees, and I can't tell you why that is, except for maybe an influx of people to our region. So talking a little bit of notable goals in our area, or in Sutter County. So the Feather River West Levee Project, Phase 2, the work was completed to date, and that included a 1-mile section at Laurel Avenue, 5 miles of levee improvement at Star Bend and Laurel, and 1 mile of levee improvements between Laurel Avenue and Highway 99 bridges. So we're really getting ourselves, in terms of flood control and safety, we're getting up to that 200 level. And next slide. Improving and modernizing infrastructure. And regionally, Caltrans has 34 projects scheduled or slated for the Yuba-Sutter region. And they did complete 5 projects in 2022. That was a capital of infusion of $145 million in improvements to our area. Sutter County did have 3 bridge replacements projects, Housley Road, Tisdale Road, and Kent Avenue. And 2 are in design phase, and 2 have completed design phase and environmental permits. And Housley Road Bridge is expected to be completed by March of this year. Lakeside at Sutter Point, the 7-mile sewer main connection is anticipated to begin early in 2023. And phase 2 and 3 of Sutter Point is on track and on target. So we should see some really big developments in the South Sutter County area. In terms of quality of care and supportive collaboration, in 2022, Better Way added electricity to all its units to support HVAC systems, which allows the units to be warmer or cooler in the summertime. And this was a priority of the county due to the extreme heat and cold temperatures of our area. There was 128 participants served, and shelter was provided for 10,788 nights. And of the 128 persons that were served, 35 exited homelessness and moved to permanent housing. And then little feedback on pandemic capital infusion. From the state of California, they had their California Grant Relief Program. And in our region, in Sutter County, there was 541 businesses assisted through this grant program, which represented $6.2 million to businesses. There was 478 from Yuba City, totaling $5.5 million, and 33 from Live Oak, totaling $435. And then on behalf of Sutter County, YSEDC managed what was called a micro business program. These were for very small businesses earning no more than $50,000 a year in gross sales. And we funded 41 businesses to a total of $102.5 thousand, and 38 were from the city of Yuba City at $95,000. So those are just some quickie facts that we have for you. I hope you had the opportunity to read through the SEDS document. It was a little more lengthy than it has in prior years because we have received a lot of participant from collaboration and other partners letting us know what's going on. So if you have any questions, we'd be happy to field them for you.
Any questions for the board?
So there's a couple of things I'd like to add, if I may. We're seeing, while we all know we're struggling with inflation and tax increases and all of that, the county is doing really well and the region is doing well when it comes to certain areas of our economy. We've had a 10-year job growth of 8,663 jobs in just 10 years. That's fairly extreme, and that is region-wide, so that's both Yuba and Sutter counties. A couple of other things that we're seeing. Over the past 10 years, there were 599 new establishments in the region. That was 10 years. 562 of those have been created in the last 5 years. So through this pandemic period and a little before, we've created almost all of that 599 jobs. In 2020 and 2021, there were 313 created. And I only mention that because I know so many communities have suffered with business loss and loss of those establishments and jobs that are supported by those establishments. I think the county has done a really great job early on in COVID, putting money from the CARES Act program and the ARPA relief program back into the community, along with allowing us to make sure that the state funds were made available to our local businesses. And I think that really helped, and it was your leadership that allowed us to do that. The other thing that I want to say from a 40, 50,000 foot perspective, we run a business loan program. We are seeing an uptick in business loan inquiries, about tenfold our normal volume. So people are starting new businesses and they are expanding existing businesses. So from our perspective, the county and the region is doing very, very well on the business side of things.
Through the chair.
Yes, Supervisor Flores.
I just want to thank both of you for your presentation, and it's really great to hear the news about the economic uptick, and I'd like to continue along those lines and keep things going that direction. Any suggestions that you have, of course, when we like working with you through coming up with those ideas that we can help as many businesses we can attract and work on supporting the ones who are also here to keep them around and keep them coming and growing, right? It's about business retention, expansion. So anything that we can do to support you, we want to continue to do that. But thanks again for the report. Always great to get updated.
The chair. Just one. What's that?
Go ahead, Supervisor.
Okay. So I was looking at this poverty on the program, on the agenda that we have, and it was the poverty status, and in California it's declining below about 12%, and Yuba County is at 15%, but now in Sutter County it looks like we've come up to like 17.5% this last fiscal year. Well, I assume it would be in year 20 to 21. I don't have a page number for you guys. Let me see. 182. Yep, 182 on the agenda. Can you elaborate on that? Is that an anomaly, or Yuba County's going down and we're going up? I was just trying to figure that out.
If you follow the data specific to unemployment, it used to be that Yuba County always carried a higher unemployment rate than Sutter County. That is not the case for the last many years. I'm not sure what we're attributing that to or how that is being, what the fix is for that. But there's a direct correlation. When we have increased unemployment, we have higher poverty. Mm-hmm. And so when you're comparing Yuba to Sutter, that's what I'm seeing across the board is Sutter County has consistently had a higher unemployment rate, creating a higher poverty rate.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, there's an action item to develop the resolution.
Move approval of the recommended action.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegemeier?
Yes.
Supervisor Baines?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
Sorry, but I have a speaker card from Deborah. Ms. Rozier.
Thank you, Matt, for actually reading the report. I was going to see if anybody noticed that our poverty rate is going up. The other thing I wanted to mention was the page 177, where it lists the top 10 employers in Sutter County. Yuba City Unified School District, Sutter County, and the city of Yuba City are 3 of the top 10 employers in Sutter County. That's all.
You know, through the chair, you know, a few of us up here, you know, work for a few different companies, you know, and we know how tough it was the last couple of years. It's tough to run any business right now, regardless. And it's not so much sales. I mean, you look at my colleagues up here that deal in the net industry. We won't even talk about where that's going. But things look like they might get a little scary here. These walnut prices don't come up. And especially with the pricing of materials and so forth that come from overseas here that we buy to run our businesses. It's really tough. It's a tough industry to be in manufacturing in general. And then on the other side, where you're growing the crops.
All right, moving on to item 12. Michael Johnston.
Approval of a contribution of up to $30,000 to the Sutter County Resource Conservation District to fund grant writing services for the Feather River Restoration Project funding application, and approval of an adjustment to the fiscal year 2022-23 adopted budget, increasing appropriations by $30,000 in the non-department expenses budget, offset by a reduction in the appropriation for contingency.
To the chair, if I may, first, I just wanted to introduce this item. So, Mr. Johnson, thank you for coming. Mr. Johnson works with the Sutter County Resource Conservation District, has been working diligently on past grant opportunities and upcoming grant opportunities for the Feather River Parkway project. Mr. Johnston reached out to me. He's been working with Thomas Gast and Associates Environmental Consultants for a grant for $1.5 million and needs up to $30,000 for payment to the grant writing for how technical this grant is. And Mr. Johnston can go into greater detail. Thank you.
I think your mic's off. Your microphone, please.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, first, thank you for having me here. Restoration of the Feather River has been a project that I've been involved in for the last 3 years. I initially got involved in it when I found out from my wife, Donna, that there had been a plan to expand the Yuba City Parkway through the Sutter County portion of the Feather River 20 years ago. Donna advised me that Supervisor Flores had a copy of that 20-year plan. I went to visit him and asked him if I could get a copy of it or see the plan and see what had happened and why that project was never completed. He gave me the plan. We reviewed it for, I would say, 3 or 4 months and came to the conclusion that we could complete this project. With his support and blessing, I started on the project about 3 years ago. 2 years ago, I applied for a grant from the National Park Service Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program. That grant did not provide any funding for the project, but it did provide technical assistance to teach me how we could get a grant and restore the Feather River to what it had been in the past. The National Park Services has been absolutely instrumental in getting me to this point. Through the research we did community involvement. community partnerships. I talked to social clubs. We did a survey to find out, number one, and this is what the Park Services was most concerned about. If we started a project to restore the river, would the community support it? That was the first thing we needed to know. Based on the research that we did and the surveys we did, we got back responses that said 85% of the Sutter County community wanted to see the Feather River area restored. Once we found out the community was behind the project, the next thing was to try to determine what actually would we do to restore the river. What did the community want done in that area? Again, 85% of the people who responded in the groups that I talked to wanted to have the Feather River restored to its original natural condition. Once we had made a determination that the community would support it, I got an idea of what we wanted to do with the project. We started forming partnerships with various people in the community. I've talked individually at various times to this various supervisors to find out if they would support the project and what they thought we should put down there. Finally, after 2 years of work with the National Park Service, we got to the point where we can actually apply for a grant to restore the Feather River to what it was. The Sutter County Resource Conservation District is here to provide protection and support for natural resources. In my opinion, the Feather River is the most beautiful and valuable at least one of the most valuable resources we have. And due to fires that have gone through in the last year or two, the forest has been destroyed. The native vegetation has been destroyed by invasive species. And in my research to restore and fund it, because that was the problem with the whole process. We got to the point that this is what we want, people support it, how do we pay for it? We pay for it with grants. And you have to find a grant that fits your project. You need two grants. You need one as a planning grant so that you get through the permitting and designs that you need before you can get a construction grant. From the research that I did, I contacted the Tehama RCD, who had just done a similar project. They had just received a year ago a grant for $1.3 million to do their river restoration project. They volunteered to help me with the project in any way that they could. They recommended Thomas Gass and Associates, their environmental engineers. I got one of their engineers to come down and look at our property on the river. They were absolutely enthralled with it. They said that this was one of the most beautiful areas they'd seen, and it was absolutely perfect for restoration. And he pointed out to me that our river is perfectly set up to be a juvenile salmon habitat. As I'm sure a lot of you know, if any of you fish or are concerned with salmon at all, salmon are almost extinct on the river right now. And what they have found out, and I believe Supervisor Conant was at a meeting a couple of weeks ago in which they discussed the perils of the salmon. And what has happened is they destroyed the natural habitat for salmon juveniles as they come down the river. They go into what they call side channels, and they rest there for a few months and feed until they're strong enough to enter the river. Those have been destroyed. When we did the inspection of the Feather River, we found that the old levees had actually cut across these natural channels that exist for the salmon and had closed them off. That's one of the reasons that our salmon population is declining and almost disappearing. What we have found out is that there is a lot of money for salmon habitat and restorations of the rivers. The Tuolumne River, where the Tehama County RCD, it was the beginning of the project. Once the salmon hatch, they come down, and now we're going into these side channels to rest, and then before they continue on down to the river. The Wildlife Conservation Board has asked, after they gave the first award to Tehama County that more of these projects be funded. Now, I have found out that what I need is $30,000 in order to hire a grant writer. And the difficulty in getting a grant writer for this type of project is you have to have, one, an experienced grant writer, and two, someone who is experienced in river restoration. The work we've done so far is we have contacted a native tribe, the Rancheria Enterprise, Maidai Indians, who have inhabited that area of the river. By getting them to partner with us, they've agreed to work with us to become a partner, which means when we get the grant, we don't have to pay matching funds. We also get quite a number of scores on the grants. How they do it is they score you depending on how many of these categories you have on your grant application. Give you an idea, grant application is 67 pages of 50 pages of technical information is what you have to do to restore a river, the studies you have to do on the hydraulics of it, and once you get that grant, then you go and get a construction grant. We're hoping that the Wildlife Conservation Board is going to give us that inspection grant, and they're also going to fund it, the construction. We also have the blessing of Levee District 1. I went to them first to find out if we want to restore the rivers or any problems that you're going to have with us in making sure that these levees are maintained. They've been behind it 100%. I've contacted river partners who are well known for river restoration products. They love our project, and they've given me a lot of help along the way. Along with the National Park Services, we're right at the cusp right now. If you fund this $30,000, I can almost guarantee you we're going to get a grant for about $1.5 million. The planning will take about 1.5 years to do. After that, we will apply for a construction grant that should bring in about $5 million. And when we finish with it, the Feather River will be an absolutely gorgeous area that will be reforested, and it will be the invasive vegetation will be removed and replaced with native vegetation. And I think you're going to have one of the most beautiful portions of the river, and people will be able to go back down there. And I believe that it will be an economic boon to Sutter County, because I believe we will have tourists coming down here. The migratory birds that live on that river are amazing. A bald eagle was spotted a couple of days ago at Shanghai Bend. And with the salmon returning to the river, I believe the fishing industry is going to come back. We are going to, again, be one of the most famous areas for not only migratory birds, but also for fishing. Thank you very much for your consideration. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I just want to say thank you for the great presentation. I want to thank you for your continued efforts and time that you put into actually bringing this close to fruition. So, are there any questions from the board?
Through the chair.
Supervisor Zigmeyer.
I just want to say how lucky we are to have you. I mean, we have an attorney here volunteering all this time. I know for a fact you have, I think last time we talked, you're gosh, Mike, I think I'm 500 hours into this thing. I couldn't imagine being billed, what your normal fees would be. And when this was on the news and we were talking about the Feather River Parkway and the response that we received from everyone was, it's unreal. Not just from the fishermen, but from the bikers and the walkers that want a place to go. And eventually we want to see this tied in all the way to Sacramento. That's the goal. And talking with some of the Sac County supervisors and how excited they were, they're like, wow, this is huge. We could connect all the regions just like what they're doing up with the bike trails up in the hills and the lost trails. So I think it's outstanding. It's really awesome that you've really done your due diligence, your homework on this, and I'm excited for this.
Through the chair.
Approve. Supervisor Flores.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say great job getting this far. But I don't know how you did it, but you look younger than 3 years ago when we first started. It's so good.
I guarantee you I'm not.
Maybe it's the jacket. I'm not sure, but
I can tell you it's a labor of love.
Yeah.
The Feather River is such a beautiful place, and because of circumstances, it really needs to be taken care of again and restored to what it was. And everybody that I've ever talked to who's ever seen that area of the Feather River is absolutely enthralled with it, and everybody's supportive of it.
I just want to add, your passion and perseverance, it's really impressive. I remember that first day when we did literally blew the dust off the plan. So it's great that you're doing that, and I fully support this project as well, and we'll continue to do so, and can't wait to walk on the river again. Because when I first moved to this county 22 years ago, I remember walking along the river and with my kids when they were young. But then things went downhill from there. So it'd be nice to get things back in order. So thank you for your work on it.
I will say that this Board of Supervisors has been very, very helpful in the work we've done so far. If you haven't been down to the Feather River lately, I'd like you to go down and take a look at it. The work that's been done there and cleaning it up and getting it straightened up and getting it ready for what I've always anticipated is going to be this construction of this project has been phenomenal. And the sheriff has done a phenomenal job in helping with this and making sure that not only is it getting clean, but it's a safe place to be and bring your kids and dogs and walk along there. And I see it more and more people going along the levees and enjoying the area. It's really, it's a different place, and it's going to be a beautiful place.
All right, I think we have a motion from Supervisor Conant and a second from Supervisor Flores. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegemeier?
Aye.
Supervisor Baines?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Right.
All right, moving on to item 13.
Approval to begin the Surplus Land Act process for 7 county-owned properties to allow for future sale, increase flexibility of use, and potentially consider other properties.
Good afternoon, Leanne Link, Assistant County Administrator. At the board's request, staff has compiled a listing of all of the county's 49 properties, which consist of 66 parcels. The list shows address, acreage, parcel numbers, current or planned use, and zoning. The list, along with corresponding maps showing the locations by number, are attached to the staff report. The Sutter County Real Estate Standing Committee met on February 23, 2023, and has recommended 7 properties consisting of 11 parcels scattered across Sutter County for surplus. Supervisors Flores and Ziegenmeier participate as the Real Estate Committee members. Each property proposed for surplus is listed in the staff report, and the only property that would generate proceeds for the general fund is the Gray Avenue complex. The Surplus Land Act requires the county works with the California Department of Housing to first offer the property for affordable housing and infill opportunity, and then to other public agencies. Only after this process has been completed can the county offer the property on the open market. 3 properties are noted as airport restricted property, which will require that the county goes through the Federal Aviation Administration process as well as the Surplus Land Act before sale. Any proceeds from the sale of these properties would go to the airport fund. Through all the phases of the Surplus Property Act, the county is not obligated to accept less than market value for the property. So we're not required to sell it at a discounted price for the required agencies. It's important to note that no properties are being offered for sale at this time. Staff will initiate the Surplus Land Act process, and we can use the broker's opinion of value to set initial asking price for those properties. Any offers from potential buyers would have to come back to the board for consideration. In fact, this action may actually allow us more flexibility in the development of the Gray Avenue property, not necessarily an outright sale, but different types of use that could be beneficial to the community. If the board would like to discuss any of the properties, Ken Turton and Patrick Stelmach from Turton Commercial Real Estate, the county's real estate consulting firm, are here to respond to any questions. Thank you.
Questions from the board?
Excuse me, Chair. Before the board asks questions, you do have a public comment card.
Sorry, that Deborah DeRozier.
Hi, Deborah DeRozier. My comment has to do with the Surplus Land Act, and like Leanne said, the parcels that are airport restricted properties, there are 4 that I see. I know I have been talking to people that are members of the airport, and there is conversations of things that have happened with that property, that it used to be part of the airport and then the county took it for other uses. And I don't know if anyone has been in contact with the airport, but I have. And there are people that want that land returned to airport control instead of being put into the Surplus Land Act. Also, like Leanne mentioned, there are FAA restrictions on the uses of the property surrounding the airport. I also reached out to HCD to find out more information about that as far as properties, because I think all of them are adjacent to the airport. It does say that the funds would go to the airport fund, I believe, on all of them. But I'm not sure if that's what the airport prefers. I would like to ask that before you put those properties into the Surplus Land Act, that you reach out to the airport people. Thanks. Right, but the land around the airport?
Through the chair, Mr. Black, would you mind coming up here, Nate? Because thank you very much. I just would like to hear what he had to say.
The airport fund is a fund, it's an instrument of the county that's to help keep money separate from other funds, right, like general funds. So, but that's separate and apart from SBRAA. So they operate the airport. And they're amazing people and group. They've never used the land that I think you're speaking of that's adjacent, pertinent to the main airport land. It's just always been kind of sitting there, used for many different reasons. The equestrian, I don't know if general services buildings on it, but it's all in that area. But again, if they were to sell surplus land that's airport designated, it would go to the airport fund, but it wouldn't go to SBRAA unless they, gave it to them.
If I may make one clarification, the Surplus Land Act process does not compel the county to sell the property. It only makes it available for the board to make the decision to sell.
Through the chair.
Supervisor Condit.
Yeah, Leanne, just one quick question. So, we would never sell the airport or any of the land surrounding it probably. Why did we go through the Surplus Land Act for the airport properties to start with?
Those properties are not currently in use for a county program or a county department. And so they were initially mentioned with the real estate committee. And once again, going through may free them up for some other use.
All right, so Deborah, did you get your questions answered, or?
Yeah, I guess so. My suggestion still is to reach out to the airport group and see if they would like to acquire it without putting it through the Surplus Land Act, because I don't know what's, when you put the property in the Surplus Land Act, like she said, then it opens it up for opportunities to receive bids from nonprofits that have to follow the affordable housing guidelines. And I believe once it's in that Surplus Land Act, the property does need to be used for affordable housing. No. And
if I may ask Taylor Chiata to come up here from County Council, he's our expert on Surplus Land Act process.
So can you ask the question again? I heard you sitting next to you. I just want to make sure.
Well, it has to do with once the property goes into the Surplus Land Act, it opens it up to bidding by the nonprofits or the preferred buyers that the state has designated. But if it doesn't get bid on and taken for affordable housing, I understood it would still require that property to be used for affordable housing units.
No, so the Surplus Land Act is essentially designed to give the first opportunity to buy to certain entities that the state has designated as good uses, I guess I would say, of our land. So that would be for affordable housing, open space, potentially a school, infill development if it's near a transit zone. But if we do not have any bidders and we get to have a fully open bidding process with them, we don't have to accept a lower price. If we don't have any bidders that we can work with in that case, and this is subject to state oversight, then we can proceed to sell it to whoever we want for whatever purpose.
Okay, that does not have to be affordable housing.
No, and once we sell it after going through the process, it's not deed restricted. There's no limits on the use.
Okay.
Unless, of course, there's something like an FAA regulation, things like that. But
Chair.
Yeah, it
Can
does.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes, go ahead.
It's because this might relate to what Deborah's asking too. Just to clarify, with the Surplus Land Act, so even if the private group at the airport wanted to purchase the land, it would still have to go through the Surplus Land Act process first in order to be even allowed for them to purchase, correct?
yes, if we're selling it to another entity, we would have to go through the Surplus Land Act process.
Okay, so reaching out to the airport, you understand, like we can't really do that until after the Surplus Land Act process. I just want you're really clear on that because
Doesn't the county actually own the airport though? And just that group runs the business?
Yes, the airport is county property, and the group operates the airport.
Yeah, I just still think it's warranted to future planning. I mean, if we grow and Sutter Point's awesome and we have some Learjets coming in, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe we need some more space for landing,
Yeah, the process still, even let's say we call them today and say, hey, we're planning on doing this. Do you want to buy it? They can't until it goes through the Surplus Land Act process. So.
Well, I'm not saying them buy it.
Oh, you mentioned that earlier.
The county retain it because it is adjacent to the property, like.
Oh, I'm sorry. For clarification, I thought you said the airport owners were interested in potentially buying the land. Did you not say that?
I don't know if they want to buy it. I just know they're interested in talking about these properties going into the Surplus Land Act.
My confusion then. Thank you.
Thanks.
Through the chair.
Yes. I'm not the chair.
The last 5 years, I've heard nothing but sell properties. And now this is what we do. We believe it or not, we're a data-driven board here. All right, believe it or not, we actually do our homework. We communicate. We bring in the experts. We talk and we do our homework and such. If you've been to the real estate committee the meeting, you'd see that the piece of property that we're talking about, one of them doesn't touch the property, but technically it's on it's on the airport property, but it borders Garden Highway. If we do it right, we have the possibility of working with the city and rezoning that piece of property and literally 10 times the value. We're talking it could be sold as a hotel, a restaurant piece. That's why what we do is we try to work to make the best outcome for Sutter County and the taxpayers. So we don't just want to take property and sell it for nothing. We want to do our due diligence and try to make it as valuable as possible so then when we do sell it, we actually make a difference. But like I've said, and like we've said, that money has to go to those departments. We can't commingle money. Why did we buy the Kmart facility? To bring 17 departments into one. It was a great idea. It was a genius idea by this board and the experts to say, buy it. Then COVID hit, and it darn near tripled the price. Well, that idea turned into a very bad idea now because we couldn't do that. So we move on to the next best thing. We talk about selling it, putting on the surplus. Let's make some money. The stinky part is that money is going to come in and it's going to go out because we have a lot of other departments that are hurting real bad. And you've been well aware, you've been to all the meetings, so you know what I'm talking about. So 7 pieces that we're looking at, voting for the tools to do the right thing, to cut 7 pieces of property. But at the same time, we're going to do whatever's best for the county and making them as valuable as possible for those departments.
To the chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Supervisor. We have had preliminary discussions with a member of the SBRA board about it, and I believe Supervisor Ziegenmeyer even mentioned at one point there's the old animal control on the 2nd Street side by the baseball fields that could possibly be expanded for additional use by the airport. So there's been some preliminary discussions about that, but either way, the county would have to have the ability to sell that, even if it's below market, which can be done after the Surplus Land Act process. But I believe going through that process will open up that possibility.
Thank you. Seeing no more speaker cards, any further questions from the board? Seeing none, look for action.
Second.
So moved and seconded. All in favor? Sorry, roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegemeier? Yes. Supervisor Baines?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
Item 14.
Approval of salary increases and non-salary related changes for confidential, deputy county councils, assistant county councils, and unrepresented management employees bargaining unit. Add language to the personnel rules to prevent compaction between department heads and subordinate management staff and adjust salary ranges for 3 positions to implement changes. Adjust the salary range for the General Services Director to reflect dual responsibilities, request the grand jury to review Board of Supervisors salaries, and make non-salary related adjustments for 1 law management classification.
Okay. Thank you. I'll run through each of these recommendations because there's several, and then just state a few words and open up for questions. But so the over the past year, all of the different bargaining units have received salary increase packages from between 11% up to nearly 31%. Typically in the past, the 11% was the general supervisory and professional unit, and that is the largest bargaining unit in the county with about 500 to 600 employees. Typically, the raises being recommended today would have been included with that in the past. That was not done last year. However, what is being recommended is directly in line with what was approved for the GSP bargaining unit. So that is that 2% base wage you'll see in 1A and the 3% equity adjustment, a 2% base wage increase effective the first full pay period, July 2023, and then another 2% base wage increase effective July 2024. And excluding the county administrator position. So there's also, to be in step and in line with the rest of the county, there's the revision of the steps with 6 through 8 requiring 2 years service between steps and eliminating salary steps 9 through 10. Grandfather employees at steps 9 through 10 and provide longevity pay of 2.5% after 10 years of Sutter County service and 2.5% after 15 years for a total of 5% longevity. Number 3, with the holidays and maximum accumulation of bank hours, that is also to be in line with the other bargaining units. A, B, and C there. Number 4 is adding a rule to the rules governing employee compensation, benefits, and working conditions, essentially so that department heads, whoever their next subordinate manager is, if it's an assistant department head, a deputy department head, or other type of management position, whatever the next highest is, that department heads would stay 10% above that. We've had issues, particularly the sheriff is paid less than the undersheriff at this moment. So we've had issues with that throughout certain departments. Specific to HHS, We would not include psychiatrist, chief medical officer, or health officer, as those are paid well more than the department head. Update the salary schedules of the elected department heads. They'll be maintained. Base compensation at step 1, because step 5 is a 30-year step. We can make additional changes to that in the future. For example, some counties have no steps for electeds and just have one salary range. The salary of the elected sheriff shall be maintained so that the sheriff coroner's base compensation at step 1 of the salary schedule is a minimum of 15% higher instead of 10% for all of the other recommendations. That is because the sheriff's managers get both admin leave and post-certification pay. The sheriff gets neither. So that 15% is needed to have a true 10% differential. Approve adjustment of the salary ranges for the Director of Development Services, the elected clerk recorder, and the elected sheriff coroner, consistent with the rules just discussed. And that is because they are those three positions have less than a 10% differential to their assistants or deputy, next highest paid deputy. Approve an adjustment to the salary schedule for the classification of General Services Director from MGT 51 to 53. So that is a 10% adjustment to reflect the role of the General Services Director being over General Services and the Director of Information Technology. Per our salary surveys, the position will still be below that of regional counties or comparable counties in both of those positions separately. So I think it's warranted to add this additional 10% for that person that is functioning as what is 2 department heads in surrounding counties, every other county, and but that's our comparable and many of the cities as well. Number 7. Approve a request to have the Sutter County Grand Jury investigate and report upon the needs for increase or decrease in salaries of the Board of Supervisors. That's in accordance with Penal Code Section 927, so the board needs to make an ask of that. I did speak to the grand juror foreperson who mentioned it would likely be the next grand jury beginning at the end of June or July that would get to that request if so requested. And also, number 8 is a cleanup item where we missed a longevity increase for the admin and finance manager law. So we're looking to include and make that correction of the new 2.5% longevity premium for 5 years of consecutive service. So we've included a lot of data in the online on the versions of the staff report showing the data that HR staff have compiled. We show department heads are an average of 34.3% out of market. The selected management positions were a bit over 20% out of market. We have particularly, let's see, the district attorney, the librarian, and the treasurer that are over 40% out of market. Currently, I just got an updated list today. 16% of county positions are currently vacant. We were last year at about 20. It looks like we've made some good headway, and I think a lot of that's come from the public safety side, thankfully, with positions getting filled in the sheriff's office and fire. I think, so in this recommendation, it covers basically unrepresented people, meaning they're not in a union, such as confidential staff in the Human Resources Department, or different managers and supervisory employees throughout the county. I believe there's between 110 and 120 employees. They are the only group of employees that have not received one of the raise packages that was considered in the last year. We know that Sutter County has the second to least employees per capita of the 31 counties in California with a population under 200,000. These are many of the folks that put in the extra time to make up that difference for being short-staffed in various departments in addition to the vacancy rate. These are the people that are kind of the boots on the ground people for implementing the goals and priorities of the Board of Supervisors. Additionally, we have continued costs without increases in that having turnover of vital positions where folks have a lot of institutional knowledge. And over the past couple years, we've had multiple failed recruitments for department heads, assistant department heads, and other unrepresented positions. We've had to go at times and, after losing a long-term employee to a neighboring jurisdiction, raise the salary by a significant amount to attract another person, but we've still lost that institutional knowledge through that process. So that concludes, I guess, my comments on the recommendation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
There's a speaker card, Deborah Drozier.
I sent in an email today. I did a salary study because when I went to the meeting on April 13th in the Agriculture, Public Protection, General Government Committee meeting, I noticed in that package that the comparisons of the salaries of Sutter County were at the step 5 level, comparing them to the highest step in the comparable counties. And I brought that up to your attention. And so I went and I did my own salary study comparing Sutter County step 10 against every other county highest step. And then I also went and I looked at the current economic indicators of the core matches for counties that are similar to Sutter County, and I selected them and prepared a salary study on those. And it did adjust your numbers considerably from what they are in the HR package. Actually, it ended up with several, the main thing that came out, in my opinion, is that the elected officials, all of them, are underpaid. And then the non-represented employees, almost all of those are at average or above average. The IT manager was definitely below average, but I see you're giving him an increase, or whoever that is, an increase. So I just want to make sure that you got that. I did that study and I have the data.
To the chair, if I may, I've read through the submitted information from Ms. DeRozier, and as we explained at the committee meeting, staff did not compare our step 5 to other counties' step 10. That did not happen. We did the highest non-longevity step, which for most counties is step 5, to other counties' highest non-longevity step. Our interim HR director is here to address that if you'd like. This is a standard that cities and counties typically use. Additionally, the data in the tables provided today by Ms. DeRozier don't match the information written in the email. In fact, I don't have any of them match. I'm trying to be respectful here because none of them match from what was in the tables versus what she had written out. Though she does mention the county administrative officer is 17% under paid. I would like that part to be.
So Veronica, if Veronica could come up to the lectern there.
So there was just two where the non-longevity step was a bit higher. So in Butte County, step 7 is their highest. So that's what we would have used. And then in Shasta County, they have a step 6 that also is a non-longevity step. In most counties, however, in the comparable counties, they were our step 5 to their highest non-longevity step. So not based on years of service. Step. Another thing to add would be just on the bargaining, the comparables that we used in our study were the same that were negotiated, and that's the same comparables that we used when we were going through GSP negotiations, POA, DSA. So we used the same comparable counties.
Thank you for the clarification. All right, there's another speaker's card. Liz Cervantes. You sure I have a card? All right. Okay, there's no more speaker cards. Any questions from the board? We only have 5 more items here. We're good. No, I'm joking. Questions from the... Yeah, we could do that. Any questions from the board?
Through the chair, I just some comments. I want to vote for this pay raise because Lord knows you all deserve it and actually deserve a higher raise than this. You're overworked, you're underpaid because of the vacancies. I'm well aware of that. This county has been doing more with less for a very long time. I was hoping that we would be in this position after having passed a sales tax measure. It would make this a whole lot easier. It's across the board. I mean, it's, we talk about in-home care, it's behavioral service, it's everybody. And I know that you deserve more. And I want to vote for this. However, I have some reservations as we're getting closer to our budget hearings about the tight fiscal crunch that we're going to be in here. As I said, I really had hoped we'd be in a different position here having passed Measure A. But it is what it is. I know you deserve more. And to be honest with you right now, I'm still not sure how I'm going to vote on this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Through the chair.
Supervisor Ziegemeier.
In my own company, I is on a daily basis, I'm losing a few employees myself to higher pay. But I run a business and I look at my budget and I see what I can afford. And it stinks. It absolutely stinks that I get so sick and tired of losing good people. And I couldn't agree more with my colleague over there. I feel the exact same way. I'm in awe of our colleagues, our coworkers, and what they do, and the hours that they put in, the hours that no one knows about, and the stress of it. And I had the conversation with an individual this week, and I'm like, man, working for a county stinks, and working for a city. He said, what do you mean? I said, it's not like you get pay raises every year. Some of these guys go 2, 3, 4, 5 years without a pay raise. I said, it's not like it's, you have, we all say public safety is our number one priority, but then what about the others? Are they not our priority? They're all our priority. But, and it stinks. But for me, it's tough. And I would feel more comfortable having this brought before the board in June after we go over budget hearings, because when we have budget hearings coming up in June, And that's when staff is at our beck and call. You know, they hammer it down to us and saying, hey, you know, where we recommend and so forth. And because there's a lot of departments, Mr. Kelly just named them off, that could use something. And we got to see what we have readily available in our arsenal to be able to afford to do that. We're talking about having, you know, 7 pieces here, possibly 3 that could benefit those different departments. That could make a big difference. One of them is going to go into the general fund. But like I said, we have a fire and so forth and everything else. It's hurting too. So I just want to reiterate that I'm very grateful for everyone out here, my fellow Sutter County co-workers and department heads and what you do. And thank you.
Supervisor Flores?
Good Chair, I just have a question, maybe for legal counsel. Can you give us a synopsis? It's stated on there, but we're not clear on it. Just Penal Code 927.
No, not off the top of my head, but
okay.
I could look that up.
If you don't mind. Yeah, because we just need some clarification on the penal code itself. I know the recommendation was to apply it only to the Board of Supervisors, but one of my thoughts is that if it applies to all elected officials, we might be able to do that. But I don't know the actual rules on the penal code.
I would like.
A grand jury may, and when requested by the Board of Supervisors, shall investigate and report upon the needs for increase or decrease in salaries of the county elected officials. A copy of such report shall be transmitted to the Board of Supervisors.
Okay, well, I appreciate that clarification. And just some comments. So, you know, for me, I ditto the sentiments of my colleagues here. I watch the county employees work hard, and I know the last 8 years, I think raises have been pretty much out the window. There hasn't been a whole lot. I do appreciate all the research that's been completed on everybody's salaries, including yours, Deborah's. By the way, thank you. I have your whole report here, but we do appreciate all of that. With that said, you know, thinking about it, I would be very supportive of the staff who are non-elected to receive the recommended action from the manager, or from, you know, the recommended action for the raises. And I'd be supportive of as well for the electeds, all the electeds who are to go through Code 927, including the Board of Supervisors. So that would be what I would really support, because I'm just not sure how we as a board can officially make a recommendation for elected officials, you know, without sort of some sort of a conflict of interest accusation or anything like that. So that's just a thought that's going through my head right now.
I see Mr. Black's up. Just before, just give me a minute here. I think I want to ditto what my colleagues up here had mentioned. I think we value each and every employee of Sutter County, and we believe that you all deserve a lot more than you're getting now, and probably a lot more than we could ever afford, right? I mean, this sounds kind of bad, but Sutter County seems to always be a day late and dollar short when it comes to, you know, retaining or paying our employees in or negotiations and that. But I understand what our board members have said. I hear you guys loud and clear. But again, I just want to make sure that you all know how important each and every one of you are to the county, and how we really, you know, respect you and your dedication to the county. Supervisor Conant.
Let's hear what Mr. Black has to say. Shut your mic off. Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I know I'm just, as a department head, yeah, I'm elected department head, but the last part there with bifurcating the electeds out, I'm not a big fan of that at the moment, considering that the raises, I've been here 8.5 years, and I hope you know that elected officials, the 6 of us, we don't get any kind of step increase until our 10th year in office. We don't get the 104 admin hours that every other department head and manager gets in the county. So it doesn't matter that we work or that we're supposed to be full-time department heads. And so I'm a little baffled. It's incredibly difficult to think of this as a career with such little support in our compensation. And I wonder, like, what are we doing? Now, I understand that our sales tax didn't come through, so we have incredible fiscal challenges, but I don't think we should I mean, like the CIO said, we've been waiting a year. Everybody else, when I got here, management unit always gets the same as GS&P as soon as that's done. Twice now we haven't. At the start of COVID, we got jacked, and now we're getting jacked again a year later, and now it sounds like you're not going to do it. So that's just a bummer.
Through the chair, I just want to clarify my comments. This does not mean by any means that the electeds don't deserve a raise. As a matter of fact, some of the research that Deborah even showed us that you actually deserve more than recommended, and that if the grand jury were to come up with a higher recommendation, we'd be accepting that recommendation most likely. I'm not speaking for the whole board, but that would be the consideration that I'd have in mind. So I just wanted to clear that for you. It doesn't have anything to do with not deserving the raises. There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, you're talking to a board of supervisors, probably one of the lowest paid in the entire state, or near close to. So just for clarification.
Yes, Ms. Dupree. The microphone, please.
Jennifer Dupree, District Attorney, and apparently mechanically not inclined. Just to follow up on something Nate said, Supervisor Flores asked about the grand jury process. Just to point out that would take probably another year from the time they start. So then that would be 3 years, based on what Nate said. And one thing that people should keep in mind is that the elected department heads run for office because we love this county. And like he said, it's hard to consider it a career when we could be getting paid more with a heck of a lot less stress, a lot less responsibility, and annual raises. So I know I've only been here 2.5 months, but just as a point of information for all of you, I get paid less than $200 a month more, or a week, a pay period now than I did at my last job where I was a supervisor. I worked fewer hours. I had a lot less responsibility. Now, I feel like I'm making a bigger difference here already, and that's just my personal opinion. But I just want you all to consider there are other department heads who have been here longer who have been passed over for increases multiple times, who may reconsider running for re-election or may ultimately choose to step down given the increase in costs. And as Mr. Black said, we don't get any increase for 10 years. That's all. Thank you.
Supervisor McKelly.
Yep. Thank you. Leanne, could I ask you a question? I know that you guys are already working on the budget. Where are you at with working these numbers into that? Or are you?
We are still in the process of going through all of the department requests and meeting with the departments to refine their request, which is what ultimately becomes the recommended budget. We haven't yet run the whole budget. So we don't know where we are. We do see that we have some growth in our property taxes. It's not a huge amount of growth. We have a little bit of growth in the current year in our sales tax. But for next year, Interlied de Lamas, our sales tax consultant, is predicting a little bit of a pullback on those numbers. But we won't have those final numbers until May.
Okay. So my next question is either for you or Steve. I know that to everybody who works here, this is going to sound incredibly frustrating and probably aggravating to you, but I just wonder, is it possible to punt on this just for a little longer till we have a better picture of the budget?
So in my experience, and I would defer to Leanne because she is much more skilled at budget development than me. But in my experience developing the budgets, once you're to that point, so let's say it's June and we've got the recommended budget together, to then say, okay, we're going to put raises in, to me, it's more difficult at that point because you've already built the budget around certain assumptions. But again, if Leanne may say, oh, it's actually not that big of a deal, and that would be fine by me, I would take her word for it.
Well, through the chair, I don't mean to try to make more work for you because I know how much you do, but is it possible to work a couple different scenarios where we know this passes and then we have a better understanding of what cuts we have to make? I mean, I'm sure everybody at the library and the museum is nervous about what could be coming their way because that's low-hanging fruit. But, I mean, I certainly don't want anything to happen to them. But maybe it gives us a better idea of what we do have to cut if we know we're going to pass this.
Through the chair.
Supervisor Zingler.
I couldn't agree more with you, Mr. McKelly. I mean, I have a library. I know it's only a library. It's still shut down. I have a fire department in my hometown that is pretty much darn near 1.0 staffing right now. And all I'm asking, I totally support this raise. It's let's build a budget around this. Let's input these numbers, and I will totally support it because what I don't want to do is there's a county, a neighboring county that did this last year. I was talking to one of their IT guys this weekend, and they had big cuts the following year because they give out massive raises. And he said, Mike, do not let that happen. Build your work to where you could build those raises in to retain those department heads so your budget's built around that. And we're just going to have to continue to run 16% lean, but we're going to have, I mean, those 84% or 84% are going to be some awesome people just like they are now carrying a heavier load, but they'll be more compensated. But like I said, I'm just asking, let's get through this. Let's get through these budget hearings. Let's input these numbers. So then I think as a whole, all five of us feel comfortable in saying, hey, we know the money's there. We budgeted for it. Let's go for it. I do support it when we input the numbers in the budget.
Leanne?
If I may make a couple of clarifications. First of all, this is not entirely general fund. And so there are a lot of revenue sources that will support a good portion of this. The general fund impact is significant. I won't sugarcoat that. What we typically do when we have negotiated increases after the budget has already been rolled up is we ask departments to absorb those in their appropriations that are existing. There are departments that are so small that they simply can't do that. And we would make some recommendations around increases in appropriations. But what happens is when we have those increases, the department absorbs it, and it may be changes to the way services are delivered. It may be changes to the amount of services that are delivered. But we leave those decisions to the individual department heads because they have responsibility to operate their departments, and they know their departments better than the CAO's office even knows them. So we do have a mechanism to take this into consideration in the budget process. And we have crunched the numbers, which is how we know what goes into the staff report. And so we would look at those, but we look at them first in, are there other revenue sources that can support this? Is there revenue that has come in subsequent to the budget requests coming in that will support this? There are things, but typically what we do is we ask the departments to support or to absorb it.
Through the chair. Last thing. I treat this as a full-time job. This is not a part-time job to me. All right, I should give it 100%. So I completely agree with all the electeds. All right, this is not my part-time gig. This is a full-time job for me. And if it wasn't a full-time job, if I didn't treat it, I have no business being here. And so do my colleagues up here and so forth. And all we want is the best, fiscally the best people. And like I said, if input whatever numbers that are going to affect the general fund so we can see those numbers and let us vote on something so we know that we're going to be able to sustain this and not have to make more cuts next year. That's all I'm asking for. Thank you.
So, Leanne, you could make the budget with these raises in consideration as part of it, and that would get back to us first part of May, maybe?
We actually have the budget study session scheduled for April, and I think we could get some pretty rough numbers in order to make it to the budget study session. It's April 20th. So we do have the ability to do that, and the board can consider it at that time. But we won't bring you a budget that's so out of balance. By the time we get to recommended budget in June, we won't bring you a budget that's out of balance. We will already have worked with the departments to see where they could absorb those costs.
Through the chair, just a couple of things. I couldn't agree with everything everybody's already said up here. I just am concerned that we are becoming the lowest payer on everything. And we are there. And I'll just go through the list. Maybe all of you read the staff report. But, for example, Sutter County is compared with Mendocino, Sutter, Butte, Nevada, Shasta, Yuba, Yolo, and Napa. And I'll read where we're at on the various departments. Ed Commissioner, second to the lowest. Assessor, the lowest. Assistant County Council Administrator, lowest. Auditor, lowest. County Clerk, lowest. County Administrator Officer, lowest. County Council, second to lowest. Director of Development Services, lowest. District Attorney, lowest. Director of Health and Human Services, lowest. Director of General Services, lowest. Human Resources, lowest. Director of Library Services, lowest. Chief Probation Officer, lowest. Sheriff, lowest. By the way, the sheriff makes less than the undersheriff, if you haven't heard. And the tax collector, treasurer, lowest. And, other counties around us are paying much higher, obviously. That's pretty evident. I am torn, to put it mildly. I think everybody in the county that works in these departments has not gotten the raises that their minor and under people that work under them have gotten. And I'm just very concerned about that. I don't, but on the other side, want to have a budget that we can't fund down the road. So I would like to see us temporarily table this until the budget is a little further along. I move that.
The chair, if I may. So my feeling is that, well, of course you know my recommendation, but my feeling is that we are going to have cuts in the next budget. If I don't agree with the thought that, okay, let's build the budget, make sure we don't have to have any cuts, and then we can give people raises when people are 30, 40, 67% under market. I think you have to give some sort of raise to those officials and make the cuts that you have to cut, because we're going to lose people. Now, maybe we won't lose some because they don't want to move, or, hey, they're elected, but they can go and be second or third in command and make more. But my feeling is, regardless, we're going to have to make cuts in the next couple years, with or without these raises. So I want to keep the best people possible to guide us in making those decisions, those very difficult decisions amongst the departments. I've got a department head group that everyone pretty much attends every single meeting, that people support each other. district attorney and I went out to lunch the other day, and I know the next day she went out to lunch with the HHS director. That's the kind of folks we have now that are trying to work together to do things. So that is just the concern from me as the county administrator, that I want to keep those people with me and working hard on behalf of the people of Sutter County and the organization. I know you have very difficult decisions to make, but again, I think we're going to have to make some cuts to services either in the upcoming budget or within the next couple years, almost certainly.
Through the chair.
Supervisor.
Thank you for those comments, Steve. I want to reiterate that for me personally, I disagree. I'm 100% in favor of these raises today. I believe that our management team, that our people deserve these raises. I think they're well overdue. I think the Board of Supervisors deserve a raise as well at this point. The only point that I was making regarding 927 was that we go to the grand jury so that we're not all accused of conflict of interest later. You know, I believe the grand jury is going to come back with a higher number. I understand your point, DA, for the time frame. However, I think that it may be more rewarding than you think, and it's something to really consider. But for me, you know, I 100% support the raises right now. I think that these are long overdue, so I disagree on the budget proposal. There is a motion on the floor, however, so I just wanted to make those comments.
Supervisor, to clarify the motion, you had said a motion to table until the budget is further along. Did you want a more certain date?
Yes, we'll have preliminary numbers by April 20th.
Before.
It won't come back until May 9th then.
Can you restate your the motion?
I move we table this until May 9th. At that time, we'll have a board meeting on the, what's the date of our meeting? This is second Tuesday.
May 9th is the first board meeting in May. The two board meetings in April are the 11th and the 18th.
With a budget study session on the
April 20th.
20th.
Yeah, so the first meeting in May. May 9th. Bring it back.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
No.
Supervisor Zigmeyer? Supervisor Baines?
No.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
All right, item 15.
Sorry, is that reports and announcements? Okay. I don't think I have any other reports and announcements. Sorry, I was focused on the other items tonight. I do have that it's more. This is more for the board than the general public or employees, but we have staff have put on the calendars for the supervisors every ribbon cutting for the Chamber of Commerce to make sure that the county supervisors are aware and able to get there. But though I don't know if one of the other supervisors is going to address the trip we took to Woodland. If so, then I will conclude my comments.
Why don't you go ahead, Steve, and then we'll follow up with it. Okay. We'd like to hear your perspective as well. That was a good trip.
So Chair Baines and Supervisor Flores and I went to Woodland to Ag Start, which is an ag tech center. it was much more impressive than I had envisioned it was going to be. In fact, the director was very impressive as well, with a background in 2 different types of engineering. There are all kinds of experiments going on. They had, a full-on lab. It reminded me of chemistry class in college, where you had folks working on everything from plants and oils and different things to even human tissue samples. They have all kinds of different operations. They have a kitchen that you can rent out if you want to do experimental recipes and things. It's not a commercial kitchen, so to speak, though, for production. But it was just a really impressive operation. I know the county and the city of Woodland had put some money into it, but not that much compared to the overall operations. The main link is the university at Davis and the funding put into it. But we had some good conversations about things that could make Sutter County, or do make Sutter County, unique, and opportunities there versus other counties. And I'll leave it at that. It was an impressive operation. I'm glad we made that trip. We've been meaning to for quite some time. Thank you.
Supervisor Flores.
So I'd like to close in memory of 2 people. I have one, Dean Branscombe, who is the son of the mayor of Marysville, who passed away a couple of weeks ago. So if I can have a letter of condolence sent to his family. And then also Mr. Saavedra, who is the husband of Sopa for Sopa Thai. He passed away, had a memorial service this last weekend at Sopa Thai. And I'd like to have a letter of condolence sent to Sopa and her family as well. Just a positive announcement, Holiday Inn Express is looking better and better. It's looking like a real hotel now, so we're looking at just a few weeks away. It should be opened in the 2nd District, the heart of Sutter County, which is great. Also, City Cafe is under new ownership, owned by Tony Ruiz, who used to run Cafe Tea Latte, for those of us who've been around a long time, is a great coffee shop on Plumas Street. She came back and is running the restaurant itself, so really excited to see that under new ownership, and I'm sure it'll take off. And then I just want to reiterate on the Ag Start that you just mentioned. That was a really impressive field trip that we did. I mean, one of the goals was to try to bring back ideas on setting up an ag tech center in Sutter County, or, in the Yuba-Sutter region even, just that we can serve the residents of Sutter County, but really to attract scientists and people who do research and development and work with other universities. And it looks like there could be a path once we set our minds to it. So, I think there's a lot more that we have to do in planning, but I like the offer, too, that we got where the head of the Ag Start said, anything you need, come and talk to us about getting it going. So I look forward to further discussion on that, and appreciate Supervisor Baines and Steve Smith joining for that tour. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Supervisor Zimmer?
No, nothing.
Supervisor McKelly? Comment?
Yes. So first of all, I'd just like to say that today I went to the Steele's Coffee in the heart of Sutter County.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
And it was a coffee with the sheriff.
Oh, excellent. Thank you,
Where
Sheriff.
were you, Dan?
Probably in Marysville at the time. Yeah.
You should have been in your own district.
Yeah, I wasn't in. Invited, so.
Yes, you were. Anyway, that was a very nice event attended by a lot of people from District 5. So a very good event for the sheriff there.
Well, we liked hosting you. Thank you.
Thank you. And then I just got one more report. So RD 1500 in Robbins Basin is in the process of planning to rebuild their Karnak pump plant. Actually, pump plants, plural. They have 2 pump plants down there. One built around the 1900s, and it's over 100 years old, obviously. And that they're putting new technology in that old plant. And they got a grant to do the preliminary engineering and preliminary design of, I believe, $250,000 to do that. And they're moving forward with I think it's about $55 million grant they're trying to get through the federal government. The county will be doing a resolution in the future next month. But this plant has some pretty interesting properties of this new project. So it's not only going to provide flood protection, it's going to have habitat for salmon and actually fish food for salmon. Partly what the river project is going to be doing as well. So when you put flood rice fields, they've developed phytoplankton in that field that is pumped back into the river for fish food to help the salmon survive, and they actually grow much more rapidly. NOC was done numerous studies on this and proven very successful. But it's also going to have more habitat for birds, and it's going to support a disadvantaged community of robins. So great project moving forward, hopefully in District 5, and a $55 million project. So that's all I wanted to say. And the resolution will be coming before the board next month. Thank you.
I'd like to have a letter of sympathy and condolences sent to the families of Joe Bagri and also to the families of Maria Martinez Raya. And that's it. If I get a motion.
I make a motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Supervisor McKelly?
Aye.
Supervisor Flores?
Aye.
Supervisor Ziegemeier? Supervisor Baines?
Aye.
Supervisor Conant?
Aye.
All right. Now we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we're going to close session.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at PlumasLakeSelfStorage.com.